Apart from all the reasons not to use this stuff, they just blatantly ignore the most profoundly obvious of all, just how cruel this stuff is and how long it takes to kill an animal.
One horse was actually found in the paddock, dead up against the pine trees. It obviously been thrashing around for quite some time, had a lot of mucus, it almost looked like its lungs are blowing out of its face. Another horse was also found in that same paddock under a pine tree, and of course the fourth horse to die was Bullet, and she died in the paddock behind us in town. They don't want to eat, they lose all body coordination, they actually have trouble even standing. The veins in their bodies basically pop out all over the place. Their gums go completely white like a shock. You can see that the animals are so distressed, there is absolutely nothing that you can do to help them. The vitamins we were giving via a syringe mixed with water, and it was all it entailed was putting that into the mouth, and all they needed to do was swallow. She even lost the ability to be able to do that. But 3 days of watching her agonise and get worse and worse to still come to that horrible demise. There's more animals than possums and dogs that become affected by it and will die horribly from it.
On the Friday there was an aerial drop of 1080 along the ridge line. On the Sunday I had quite a frantic call from my mother telling me that the red cow was dead, and then she came back and found her daughter and brought her up, and she wasn't well. The first cow died on the Sunday, and then on the Monday I called at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock to have that cow autopsied, and I also had the second sick cow up here in the yards. She'd gone from being reasonably bad to bloody terrible. She couldn't stand, she was fighting to kind of keep herself together, so I stayed out of the yard and stayed on the outside, and then I called my brother to get the rifle.
The drop was Friday. The Wednesday I came out and I actually witnessed one of last year's fawns dying, and it's the most horrific death I have ever witnessed on any poor animal. It was cruel.
1080 does fucking dear.
The first thing I noticed, she had the shakes. Her head was going like this and her eyes were bulging. Eventually she was staggering around, she went down. She went into like a rigor mortis, everything went tense, and she was screaming in agony, and then she'd soften up, and then she'd thrash around and she was screaming, and then she'd tense up again, and it carried on for about 3/4 of an hour, and eventually she died. But that had been a long time coming. That was the last stages of her life, and it was hideous.
Approximately 20,000 deer are killed annually by 1080 drops. The deer kill rate per 1080 drop is about 50%.
I myself have been involved with 8 dogs that have been lost over the years. It is pretty horrific what you see these dogs go through, and regardless of whether you've got muzzles or whatever, there is still going to be dogs right throughout the country lost on farms. That's just the on-farm dogs without any of the other pet dogs or anything else around. It is horrific, and we're expected to work right in the middle of all this stuff.
Once the signs of poisoning start, they become hyperactive and run and snap and bite. They lose control of their bowels and their bladder. They experience twitching of their muscles, often facial muscles. Then the spasms of the muscles become more severe, and they develop very strong spasms of muscles in their legs and tail that make all of their limbs and tail very stiff. Dogs might die during fitting, but often there are repeated fits with periods where they recover in between. There's a 2-hour period of symptoms before they die.
You can kill over 2,500 25 kilogram dogs with the amount of 1080 that is usually put on a hectare. 2,500 dogs.
1080 is not a humane poison, And despite people's claims that it is humane, we now recognise that that's not the case. It's not good enough to pretend to ourselves that it's humane and keep on doing the same old thing that we've been doing for years. There's no excuse to keep on using a poison that is not humane and that we know is not humane.